Hey folks, y'all just in time. I got a little ahead of the class and built this project out so I could show you what the end result is gonna look like. I almost launched this bad boy without you. Alright, check this out. Boom. Look at that. That right there is the Holy Grail. I just had to type in a few numbers in the form we're gonna build and hit one button, and DriveWorks built a brand new table, updated the legs, cut the wood, generated all the drawings, and saved it all with unique file names while I stood here drinking my coffee. That is what we are building towards and will achieve most of in today's lesson. But if you try to hit that button right now, nothing's gonna happen. Why? Because right now, our robot is all brawn and no brains. It knows what the table is, but it doesn't know how to change it. Today, we're gonna fix that. We're gonna build the form, we're gonna write the rules, and we're gonna tackle the file name trap. Let's get to work.
If you can't machine it, don't draw the line. We don't waste hours on a bad design. No smoke, no mirrors, no fancy switches. Designed for the build with whistle britches.
Welcome back to the shop. Now, before we get started, old Jimbo got his hands on our last video and gave me what I like to call a little field calibration. He reckons I rushed through that last lesson faster than a scalded dog and glossed over some key points. And I hate to admit it, but the man is right. Now, I already planned a follow-up lesson down the road to cover some of the finer details you'll need when you fly solo. We are still gonna do that. But before we move on and start clicking today, we need to have a little come to Jesus meeting about names. I wanna make sure this is crystal clear, because if you get it wrong, it can get more confusing than a goat on AstroTurf. Now I put this diagram together to break it down a little. Starting from the top left, you'll see our list of captured models. We went into each model and captured the individual dimensions we want to drive in order to produce new configurations with DriveWorks Express. These are our captured dimensions, the dimensions we renamed in the previous lesson. You can see the captured dimensions still have the @sketch1 included. That's okay. That's just for DriveWorks to keep up with. We don't need to worry about the cryptic looking addresses anymore, because DriveWorks now lets us work with the simple English version of the captured dimension in the form of what we'll refer to as the rule names you see here in green. Now I've color coded this to help you visualize their interaction. Now on to the color purple. This is simple representation of the DriveWorks Express form we'll be building. In the paid versions of DriveWorks, this works a little differently, but in DriveWorks Express, the names really serve two functions, the control name and the form input label. We will simply refer to these purple names as control names. So now we use the control names, and in some cases simple math, to build the rules using Excel-based formulas. Still confusing? Well, if it is, that's okay. Seeing it in the form of an example should help drive it home for you. We captured the basics back in SolidWorks last time, but we're gonna add two additional items, the tabletop thickness and a simple optional cutout in the tabletop for cable management. Now in the last video, I made you rename everything in the feature tree first. That's the Boy Scout method. It's clean, but I know some of you, like my buddy Jimbo, are stubborn. You like your D1 at Sketch1. So here's the shortcut. We'll use this method to capture the tabletop thickness dimension. Alright, you'll want to have the table assembly model open in SolidWorks. Remember, to launch DriveWorks Express, go to the Evaluate tab and click on DriveWorks Express Wizard, which will launch DriveWorks Express. Now we want to hit that Add Edit Projects button. Select our assembly and click Open. This will open up our DriveWorks Express project so we can pick back up where we stopped in the last lesson. Let's open up the tabletop part model and capture that thickness dimension. With our tabletop part model open, select the Dimensions and Features tab on the DriveWorks Express panel. Okay, remember the quickest way to do this is to simply double-click the tabletop to wake up the dimensions. Find your thickness dimension and select the dimension. It still says D1, or whatever garbage SolidWorks named it. We're gonna leave the name as is in SolidWorks. Okay, now that you've selected your dimension, Click into the name box at the bottom of the DriveWorks panel. We can just type tabletop thickness right here. DriveWorks is smart enough to know that tabletop thickness equals D1 at boss extrude 1. In fact, DriveWorks even adds the SolidWorks name in parentheses next to the plain English name. Okay, now click add and our tabletop thickness is added to the list of captured dimensions. So as you can see, we still need to rename our dimensions and features whether we do it in SolidWorks or as we are capturing them using this method. I guess it comes down to a matter of preference. So you do you, I'll do me, and well, I guess Jimbo just gets to do whatever he wants. Now we're gonna capture our first feature, the cable cutout. I already renamed the extrude cut feature to cable cutout in the SolidWorks feature manager. Go ahead and select the feature named cable cutout. Something I didn't point out in the previous lesson is that when you rename your SolidWorks features and dimensions and select them to be captured, DriveWorks will take the new name and whack off the rest of the address and stick that in the name field for you. So all you have to do is click the add button. So go for it. Click that add button now. And there it is. We have now captured our first and only feature for this project. Okay, let's do a quick look to see where we are in the process. So, last time we got through step 1, prepping the model, and started on step 2, capturing the crime scene. And we just captured another dimension and a feature. So we are now officially done with step 2 and ready to move on to step 3, the form. Time to build the dashboard. Now you may have noticed the fine folks at DriveWorks did a nice job laying out our steps in a series of icons here at the top of the DriveWorks Xpress window. As you can see, we've been working in the capture phase, so we are sitting on that camera icon. Since we are now done with the capture phase, let's select the next icon to the right to build our form. Click the form button. Our form will be the user interface where you or another user will specify new configurations to be generated. The form can be comprised of several different control types. We're going to use the following form control types for our setup: text box, numeric text box, drop down, and a checkbox form control. The first control we're going to add is a job number. This is simply to provide a unique identifier to the configuration we're running. It could be called ticket number, project ID, specification number, or whatever works for your application. This is critical for saving files later. To add the job number form control, click the add button. Now, type job number into the name field. From the type drop-down, select text box. Now, we'll select the required checkbox to make it a required field for the user to fill in, and click create. Now let's follow the same procedure to add the other form controls. Click add and specify the control for table length. Go ahead and enter table length in the name field. Let's select a numeric text box for our table length form control type. We'll need to specify minimum and maximum values for the length. Let's use 48 and 96 and make this input required. We'll use another numeric text box for the table width form control with a minimum allowed value of 20 inches and a maximum width of 60 inches. We'll also make it required. And repeat the same steps for the table height with a minimum height of 26 inches and a maximum of 42 inches. For the tabletop thickness, we'll use a drop-down form control. We'll limit the available thickness to 1 inch, 2 inches, and 3 inches. To create the list of values in our drop-down, we just simply type the values in this box and hit enter after each value. You'll end up with a list within the box. Make this input required also. Now we'll add a checkbox form control for our optional cable cutout. Congratulations! You've just created your user input form for this project. Before we move on, let's give our form a little test drive. If you select the test button over on the right, you'll get a preview of the input form. There will be a warning icon beside any field that hasn't properly been filled in with allowable values. We can also set default values for our form that will be pre-populated as placeholder values. You can simply overwrite these values when entering a new specification. Alright, we have completed step 3 and are ready to start writing rules for this project. As you can see, within each of our steps is simply a little workflow that uses the rinse and repeat method without the soap in your eyes. Once you follow these simple steps on a couple of projects, it'll be like riding a bicycle without training wheels. Since we'll be writing rules for the entire project, let's go back over to the Captured Models tab and open up our table assembly model. Now you don't actually have to do this, but I like to do it just as a visual aid to remind me how all these dimensions relate. Alright now, let's create some rules for our project. Go to the Rules tab. You'll see a summary list. This provides an inventory of rules that tells you what's missing. We will want to clear any red values in our inventory. Check the box for dimensions and hit Edit Rules. Now, this is the brains of the operation. If you can handle a spreadsheet, you can handle this. We aren't guessing here. We're teaching the robot how to do the math, so we don't have to. Alright, let's link them up now. We'll start by writing a rule to drive our table length dimension. So click on the table length rule and then hit the Build button. This will launch the rule builder. This rule will be very easy. We can simply make it equal to the input or control value for table length by selecting table length from the input drop-down menu. Now click OK. If we uncheck the Show Missing Rules Only box, you'll see our full list of dimension rules, and you'll notice table length is the only one without a red X beside it. The red X simply means no rule has been written yet for that dimension. Let's check that box again so we only see what we got left to do. Let's select the table width and hit the Build button. Now we can either select table width from the input drop-down menu or type it in the box. As you will notice, the rules text box will turn red whenever there is an invalid rule present. So it'll be red in this case until we type a valid input value of table width. Okay, let's knock out the rule for the tabletop thickness. This time, instead of selecting the rule name and hitting the Build button, we'll simply double-click the name to launch the rule builder. Now just select the input tabletop thickness and hit OK. Now, for the leg height. If we just connect this to table height, our table will be too tall because of the top thickness. The rule for the leg height is table height input minus tabletop thickness. DriveWorks is a calculator, folks. Use it. Let's go back to the summary now, and we'll see that our dimension rules have been successfully written. How do we know? Because there is no more red in the dimensions inventory. Check the features box and click Edit. We only have one rule to write here for the optional cable cutout. For the cutout, we use an if statement. Just type this rule, which in English states, if cable cutout, unsuppress. Otherwise, suppress. Let's go back to the rule summary. Now for the most important part, file names. Check the file names box and hit Edit. Folks, listen to me closely. If you leave this blank, the run button stays grayed out and you ain't going nowhere. DriveWorks won't even let you put the key in the ignition. The file name rule simply tells DriveWorks what name to save the newly generated files as. There are many ways to do this, but the way we are going to do it for our project is to leverage the job number to give us a unique file name. By simply selecting the job number control input, DriveWorks will append the job number to our file name when saving the configuration we run. We'll use this method for the remaining files as well and cover some additional methods in a future session. No need to get too fancy yet. Okay. Alright now, let's go back to the rules summary and see if we got any red left in our inventory. Well, look at there. We are done writing rules, folks. Ain't but one thing left for us to do. Once the engine is tuned, it's time to drive. Go to the Run tab. Now let's specify our first table configuration. Input 1001 for job number. Now, let's give it a length of 84 inches, a width of 30 inches, and a height of 36 inches. Select a thickness of 2 inches. Let's check the box to add our cutout, then hit Create. Every time you hit that button, DriveWorks hands you a little report card. If you see a green check, you're cooking with gas. If you see a red X, well, that means something failed the wiggle test and we gotta go pop the hood. We got all green check marks, a perfect report card. Mama gonna sign this one for sure. Now let's go up to Browse Recent Documents. Find a table assembly drawing that was just generated and let's open it up. Now go over to the DriveWorks Xpress panel and click the Finish button. This will take us back to our form with the default values. Let's click on that last Use button. Now let's check our form inputs against the output we got. We have a length of 84 inches, check, a width of 30 inches, a height of 36 inches, and we have our cable cut out as specified. Let's just throw a dimension on the tabletop thickness just to verify it is also correct. Boom! Now the only thing we're really missing is capturing the drawings. I didn't show you how to do that yet. The reason we were able to generate not only the new models, but also their associated drawings is, well, because I captured them ahead of time. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to capture the drawings. We'll also use that time to go a little deeper into some of the DriveWorks Xpress features we didn't cover in our simple project. All right, I'll see you in the shop next time. If you got something out of this video, consider slapping that subscribe button. Make sure you check out the other videos in this DriveWorks Xpress playlist. Now go build something.